The princess who loved the hunter. Once upon a time, in the great kingdom of Nzumbe, where the river sparkled like molten gold and the forest stretched beyond the eyes could see, lived a princess unlike any other. Her name was Adanma, the daughter of King Obalolu, ruler of Nzumbe. She was the jewel of the land, known not only for her radiant beauty but for her fierce spirit, a heart untamed by the luxury of the palace. Unlike other maidens of royal blood, Adanma did not find joy in embroidery or courtly dances. Instead, she found solace in the whispers of the wind and the songs of the birds. While her father sought to bind her to the throne with a marriage to a nobleman, her heart longed for something wilder, something beyond the palace walls. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson and gold, Adanma wandered deep into the sacred forest of Ikemba, a place feared by many for its tales of ancient spirits and wandering souls. But the princess was fearless, her curiosity stronger than any legend there. She met Ikemba, a hunter whose name echoed through the land like a sacred drumbeat. He was no ordinary man, his arrows never missed their mark, and his knowledge of the wild was unmatched. His eyes held the wisdom of the land, and his presence carried the scent of earth and adventure. From that moment, a forbidden bond was forged. Each night, under the cover of darkness, Adanma would slip past the palace guards to meet Ikemba in the heart of the forest. He taught her the language of the wild, the way to track animals, the healing power of roots, and the secrets whispered by the trees. But above all, he taught her love, the kind that defied crowns and chains. But secrets have wings, and soon, whispers of the princess's escapades reached the ears of King Obalolu. His rage was like the roar of a storm, shaking the walls of the palace. "A princess does not love a common hunter," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the royal halls. Determined to end the scandal, he summoned the Sorcerer of the Black Hills, an ancient seer known for his cruel magic. With a flick of his gnarled fingers, he cast a deadly curse upon Ikemba, a curse that would doom him to roam the forest as a shadow, neither living nor dead, unless the princess renounced her love for him. But Adanma's love was not one to be caged by fear. With fire in her heart, she vowed to break the curse, even if it meant defying the gods themselves. That night, she fled the palace, braving the darkness of the forbidden swamp, where spirits with hollow eyes lurked beneath the murky waters. She ventured into the cave of echoing souls, where the past whispered secrets that only the bravest dared to hear. But time was slipping through her fingers. Ikemba's spirit was fading, his once strong presence now a mere whisper in the wind. Would Adanma succeed in breaking the curse before it was too late? Would the wrath of her father lead to a war between love and duty? And what of the sorcerer, who watched her every move from the shadows, waiting to strike? The answers lay hidden in the heart of the forest, where fate and destiny danced like fireflies in the night. With her heart pounding like the war drums of Nzumbe, Princess Adanma pressed deeper into the unknown. The shadows stretched long, whispering eerie warnings in the howling wind. She knew that the Sorcerer of the Black Hills was watching, waiting for her to falter. But she was the daughter of a king, fear would not claim her. At dawn, she reached the Cave of Echoing Souls, a place where spirits of the past spoke to those who dared listen. The air was thick with ancient whispers, and the cave walls pulsed with an otherworldly glow. There, an old woman sat by a fire that never burned out. Her face was hidden beneath layers of wrinkles, her eyes milky with the weight of many years. "You seek to break the curse of the hunter," the old woman rasped. Adanma nodded, her fist clenched. "Tell me what I must do." The old woman leaned forward, her voice like dry leaves in the wind. "The sorcerer's curse is bound by the blood moon. Before the next full moon rises, you must retrieve the stone of the ancestors, hidden deep within the Valley of the Forgotten. Only with its power can you shatter the spell and free your beloved." Adanma swallowed hard. The Valley of the Forgotten was a place of lost souls, a place where even the bravest warriors never returned. But she had no choice, Ikemba's time was running out. As she left the cave, the ground trembled beneath her feet. A chilling laughter filled the air, sending shivers down her spine. From the swirling mist emerged the Sorcerer of the Black Hills himself, cloaked in shadows, his eyes burning with malice. "You dare challenge my curse, princess," his voice slithered like a serpent. "You think love can defy my power?" Adanma stood tall, her gaze unyielding. "Love is stronger than any magic, old one. The sorcerer's lips curled into a sneer. With a wave of his skeletal hand, dark tendrils of mist coiled around Adanma's feet, threatening to pull her into the earth. You will never reach the Valley of the Forgotten, he hissed. And your precious hunter will remain a shadow forever. Summoning the strength of her ancestors, Adanma drew the dagger hidden beneath her cloak and slashed through the mist. A golden light erupted from the blade, forcing the sorcerer to recoil with a snarl. This is not over, princess, he spat before vanishing into the darkness. But Adanma knew he would return. With time slipping away, Adanma pressed forward, crossing the river of ghosts, where spectral hands reached out to drag her into the depths. She climbed the mountain of silent screams, where the wind carried the voices of those who had failed before her. Finally, after days of hardship, she stood at the edge of the Valley of the Forgotten. The air was thick with sorrow, the trees twisted with the weight of ancient suffering. At the heart of the valley lay the stone of the ancestors, glowing with a soft, ethereal light. But standing between her and the stone was something far worse than she had ever imagined. A monstrous shadow beast, born from the souls of the forgotten, rose from the earth, its eyes burning like molten fire. It let out a deafening roar, shaking the valley itself. Adanma gripped her dagger tightly. She had come too far to fail now. Would she defeat the beast and claim the stone of the ancestors? Would the sorcerer make his final move before she could break the curse? And would Ikemba's fading spirit hold on long enough for her to save him? The battle for love and destiny had only just begun. The shadow beast roared, shaking the Valley of the Forgotten. Its form shifted like black smoke, its claws as sharp as the fangs of the great river serpent. Princess Adanma knew she had little time. Ikemba's spirit was fading, and the sorcerer lurked in the darkness, waiting to strike. Her heart pounded, but fear had no place in it. She gripped her ancestral dagger, the one her grandmother had given her, a blade forged in the fires of the gods. The beast lunged, its eyes burning with ancient hatred. Adanma rolled to the side, barely escaping its swipe. She knew she couldn't fight it with brute strength alone. The old woman at the Cave of Echoing Souls had said, "The beast is not made of flesh, but of sorrow. Only the fire of courage can break its form." Adanma closed her eyes for a brief moment, summoning the strength of the ancestors. When she opened them again, she saw something she hadn't noticed before, a glowing symbol on the beast's chest. That must be its weakness. Summoning all her strength, she charged forward, dodging the creature's massive claws. At the last moment, she leaped into the air and drove her dagger into the glowing mark. The beast let out an earth-shaking scream. Dark mist erupted from its body, twisting and riding before vanishing into the sky. Silence. Then, the ground trembled, and at the heart of the valley, the stone of the ancestors pulsed with golden light. Adanma, bruised and breathless, stepped forward and reached out. The moment her fingers touched the stone, a wave of warmth surged through her, as though the spirits of the past had awakened to her cause. She had done it. But her journey was far from over. As she turned to leave, a chilling laugh echoed through the valley. The sorcerer of the Black Hills materialized before her, his eyes gleaming with malice. "You are more stubborn than I expected, princess," he hissed. "But do you really think I will let you walk away with that stone?" Adanma tightened her grip on the stone, standing her ground. "Your magic is strong, but my love is stronger." The sorcerer sneered. "Then let us test that love." With a flick of his wrist, a dark wind swirled around them. The sky turned blood red, and from the shadows emerged a figure, one that made Adanma's heart nearly stop. It was Ikemba. But something was wrong. His once bright eyes were now hollow, his skin pale like the spirits of the dead. The sorcerer had turned him into a puppet of darkness. "If you wish to save your beloved, you must fight him," the sorcerer taunted. "Or will you let him perish?" Adanma's hands trembled. She had fought beasts and crossed lands, but could she raise her blade against the man she loved? Ikemba stepped forward, his movement stiff like a man caught in a nightmare. He raised the shadow-forged spear, and for the first time, his lips parted in a whisper, "Adanma, run." Tears burned in her eyes. She would not run. The final battle had begun. Would Adanma find a way to free Ikemba without harming him? Would the sorcerer's dark magic prove too strong? And would love truly triumph over fate? A cold wind swept through the valley of the forgotten, carrying whispers of ancient spirits. Adanma stood frozen, her heartbeat drumming like a war cry in her ears. Before her, Ikemba, the man she loved, had been twisted into a puppet of darkness by the Sorcerer of the Black Hills. His once warm eyes were now vacant, his body moving under a force he could not resist. The shadow-forged spear in his hands crackled with dark energy as he stepped forward. Adanma, run. His voice was weak, strained, as though speaking against an unseen force. Adanma clenched her fists. She would not run. She had crossed cursed swamps, battled beasts, and defied the wrath of her father. She had risked everything to save Ikemba. Running was not an option. The sorcerer sneered, his black cloak billowing like smoke. Fight him, princess. Or watch him be swallowed by the darkness forever. Ikemba lunged, his movements sharp but hesitant, as if his soul was fighting against the spell. Adanma dodged, rolling to the side just as his spear struck the ground where she had stood. The earth cracked beneath the impact. I know you're still in there, Ikemba, she cried. You are stronger than his magic. The sorcerer let out a cruel laugh. You waste your breath. His soul is bound to me now. Ikemba's body moved again, launching another attack. This time, Adanma had no choice but to block with her ancestral dagger. The clash sent sparks flying, but she refused to strike back. Think, Adanma, she told herself. There must be a way to break his hold. Then, she remembered the stone of the ancestors, still pulsing with golden light in her satchel. The oracle had said it held the power to break the curse. But how? As Ikemba struck again, she leaped backward, quickly pulling out the stone. It glowed brighter in her hands, radiating warmth that pushed back the darkness. Ikemba, listen to me, she shouted. This is not who you are. You are Ikemba, the greatest hunter of Nzumbe. You are the man who walks with the wind, who speaks with the trees, who holds the heart of a princess. For the first time, Ikemba's movement staggered. His spear trembled in his grasp. The magic that bound him flickered. No, the sorcerer roared, his grip over Ikemba slipping. You will not take him from me. Adanma clutched the stone tighter, stepping closer to Ikemba. She reached out, pressing it against his chest. A golden light exploded, engulfing him completely. The darkness screamed as if it were a living thing being torn apart. Ikemba gasped, his eyes widening. The shadow magic shattered around him like glass, and with a final burst of energy, the golden light blasted outward, striking the sorcerer. The dark magician shrieked as the light consumed him, his body twisting and writhing. The valley of the forgotten was still, the echoes of the battle fading into silence. The stone of the ancestors had done its work, Ikemba was free, and the sorcerer of the Black Hills had been vanquished. But Adanma knew their fight was not yet over. The king's wrath awaited them back in Nzumbe, and the laws of the land were clear, a princess could not love a common hunter. As they left the cursed valley, the wind carried a whisper, soft but chilling. This is not over, princess. After days of travel through the cave of echoing souls, the river of ghosts, and the forbidden swamp, the lovers finally arrived at the gates of Nzumbe. The city was restless. News of Adanma's disappearance had spread, and the king's fury had reached its peak. The royal guards swarmed the palace grounds, and the people whispered anxiously. The moment King Obalolu saw his daughter riding into the city with Ikemba by her side, his face darkened like a gathering storm. You dare return with him, the king thundered. His voice shook the throne room, sending shivers down the spines of those present. Adanma stood firm. I have returned with the truth, father. Ikemba is not just a hunter. He is the man I love. And I will not abandon him. Gasps filled the hall. The elders exchanged glances, knowing the consequences of her words. King Obalolu's eyes burned with rage. You have disgraced your lineage, he bellowed. You will marry a prince, as duty demands. Adanma stepped forward, her voice steady. I have seen true power, father, not in crowns or wealth, but in courage, loyalty, and love. Ikemba has faced monsters, spirits, and curses for me. What prince can claim the same? The court murmured, uneasy. The king's grip tightened on his royal staff. Then he will prove himself. His voice was dangerously low. Let him face the trial of the gods. If he survives, he may claim you. If he fails, the king's eyes narrowed, he will perish. Adanma's heart clenched, but before she could protest, Ikemba stepped forward. I accept. She turned to him, panic flashing in her eyes. Ikemba, no. He took her hand gently. I would fight the gods themselves for you, Adanma. This is no different. The court erupted into whispers. The trial of the gods was a test no commoner had ever survived. Would Ikemba triumph, or was this the king's final move to tear them apart? And in the shadows of the palace, something stirred. Was the sorcerer of the Black Hills truly defeated, or had his darkness found a new vessel? The greatest test had just begun. The great drums of Nzumbe thundered across the land, summoning all to the trial of the gods. No commoner had ever dared to face such a test, for it was said that even warriors blessed by the spirits had perished in its grip. Yet, Ikemba stood tall, his gaze unwavering. He was not a prince, nor did he possess royal blood, but he had something far greater, the heart of a hunter and the love of a princess. Princess Adanma watched from the palace balcony, her heart pounding with fear. She knew her father hoped this trial would destroy Ikemba. But he does not know the strength of the man I love, she thought. The oracle of the ancestors, a blind old woman dressed in white, raised her arms. The trial has begun. Let the gods decide his fate. The palace courtyard trembled as the ground split open, revealing a sacred underground chamber, the arena of the spirits. Ikemba stepped forward, descending into the darkness. As soon as his feet touched the ground, the chamber came to life. The walls shimmered with ancient carvings, and whispers of the long-dead filled the air. Then, from the shadows, his first challenge emerged. A deafening roar shook the arena as a monstrous leopard with iron fangs leaped from the darkness. Its eyes glowed like molten fire, and its claws could tear through stone. The crowd gasped. No man has ever defeated the Beast of Iron Fangs, one elder murmured. Ikemba did not flinch. He studied the beast carefully, noting the way it moved, the way its muscles caught before a strike. The leopard lunged. At the last moment, Ikemba sidestepped, rolling beneath its massive body. He grabbed the fallen bone spear from the ground and struck, but the weapon snapped like dry wood against the beast's iron skin. A murmur of despair spread through the crowd. The king smirked. Adanma clenched her fists. Come on, Ikemba. Find the weakness. Ikemba narrowed his eyes. Then, he saw it, a faint scar on the beast's left hind leg. That is where I must strike. The beast lunged again, but this time, Ikemba didn't dodge. He dropped to his knees at the last second, slid beneath the beast, and drove a hidden dagger into the scar. A deafening howl filled the arena as the iron-fanged leopard collapsed, defeated. The crowd roared in disbelief. The oracle raised her hand. He has passed the test of strength. King Obalolu's smile faded. The ground trembled again, and the arena transformed into a vast river, but the water was strange, shimmering like liquid silver. The oracle spoke. This is the river of illusions. To cross it, one must not be deceived by what they see. Ikemba stepped forward, and instantly, his greatest fears rose from the water. He saw Adanma, trapped in chains, crying for him to save her. He saw his village burning, his ancestors turning their backs on him. Come to me, Ikemba, the vision of Adanma begged. Save me before it is too late. Ikemba's heart pounded. Was this real? Was she truly in danger? From above, the real Adanma called out, Ikemba, trust your heart. Ikemba took a deep breath, calming himself. The gods are testing me. Instead of rushing into the river, he closed his eyes and listened, not with his ears, but with his soul. He could hear the real Adanma's heartbeat above, steady and strong. And so, he walked forward with his eyes closed. The moment his feet touched the water, the illusion shattered like glass. He opened his eyes, and found himself on the other side, unharmed. The oracle smiled. He has passed the test of wisdom. The crowd erupted into cheers. But the king's expression darkened. one final test remained. The final test was the deadliest. A massive pyre of sacred fire rose in the center of the arena. The oracle's voice rang through the air. The final test is sacrifice. To prove his worth, Ikemba must walk through the flames, offering his spirit to the gods. The crowd fell silent. No one had ever survived this test. Adanma's breath caught in her throat. No, he would die. But Ikemba, without hesitation, stepped toward the flames. Stop! Adanma screamed, breaking free from the guards. She ran into the arena, standing between Ikemba and the fire. This is madness, she cried. I will not watch him die. The oracle turned to the king. The trial of the gods is sacred. Will you end it now, King Obalolu? The king's fist clenched. If he stopped the trial, he would have to acknowledge Ikemba as worthy. But if he let it continue, he might lose his daughter forever. The entire kingdom watched in tense silence. Then, before the king could speak, a voice echoed from the flames. The gods have already decided. A blinding golden light erupted, and from the flames, a shadowy figure emerged. The sorcerer of the Black Hills. He was not dead. His spirit had been hiding within the kingdom all along. You thought you had defeated me, the sorcerer sneered. Fools. Now, I will take what should have been mine. Darkness spread across the arena. Adanma grabbed Ikemba's hand. We end this. Together, the final battle had begun. Would Ikemba and Adanma defeat the sorcerer once and for all? Would the gods truly accept their love? And would King Obalolu finally see that Ikemba was the only man worthy of his daughter? The end is near, but will it be victory or tragedy? A storm of dark energy swirled around the arena of the spirits, thick as a night with no moon. The sorcerer of the Black Hills had returned, his voice dripping with malice. You thought you could read the word of me, he sneered. You are mere children playing at war. The crowd screamed and scattered, but King Obalolu stood frozen, his royal guards unsure whether to attack or flee. The elders whispered in fear, if the sorcerer had survived, his power must be greater than before. Adanma and Ikemba did not run. This was their final test. With a flick of his skeletal fingers, the sorcerer raised a shadow army from the ground, warriors of smoke and bone, eyes burning like dying embers. Kill them, he commanded. Ikemba drew his blade, ready to fight, but Adanma grabbed his arm. No. The answer is not in weapons, she said. The gods have already shown us the way. She pulled the stone of the ancestors from her satchel, and it began to glow a light so fierce it cut through the darkness like a spear.
The shadows hissed and recoiled as the power of the ancestors surged. The sorcerer snarled. That stone cannot save you. He raised his hands, summoning a vortex of cursed fire, hurling it toward them. Ikemba shielded Adanma, bracing for the impact, but instead of burning them, the fire froze in midair. Then, a voice older than time itself echoed through the arena. The one who walks with courage, the one who walks with love, you are chosen. The fire transformed into golden embers, swirling around them. The spirits of Nzumbe's ancestors descended from the heavens, their faces calm but powerful. Your time is over, sorcerer, one of them said. The sorcerer howled in defiance. No. I am eternal. Before he could finish, the spirits struck him with a beam of pure light. The sorcerer screamed as his form disintegrated, his essence torn apart by the very forces he had defied for centuries. His army crumbled into dust. And then, silence. The crowd slowly stepped forward, their eyes filled with awe and fear. King Obalolu descended from his throne, his face unreadable. He looked at Ikemba, then at Adanma. The man who had defied him. The daughter who had risked everything. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, with a deep breath, he raised his royal staff. The gods have spoken, he declared. And I will not defy them. The people gasped. The king turned to Ikemba, his voice heavy with unspoken emotions. You are no mere hunter, Ikemba. You have proven yourself worthy. He turned to Adanma, his eyes softening. And you, my daughter, you have shown the strength of a queen. The palace erupted into cheers as King Obalolu stepped aside and placed Adanma's hand in Ikemba's. You have my blessing, he said. Tears of joy filled Adanma's eyes as she turned to Ikemba. We did it. Ikemba smiled, pulling her close. Together. The land of Nzumbe rejoiced. A grand festival was held in honor of the hunter who won a princess's heart and the princess who defied fate itself. Stories of their journey spread across the lands, told around village fires for generations to come. And as the sun set on that fateful day, Adanma and Ikemba stood hand in hand, knowing that their greatest adventure was just beginning. Thank you for staying on this journey.